Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Middle guy again. And today I want to talk about the trans military ban that Trump is attempting. And I want to discuss this in two parts. Well, really, it's all going to come together, actually. But first, I want to go into the medical aspect of it. So, if you think you're trans, you have a mental illness that's called gender dysphoria, DSM-5, okay? Gender dysphoria is a condition defined in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders as a marked incongruence between an individual's experienced or expressed gender and the gender assigned at birth. The DSM criteria for gender dysphoria include a strong and persistent cross-gender identification, a significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning due to the gender incongruence, a desire to change one's primary or secondary sex characteristics, a desire to be treated as the other gender. It is important to note that not all transgender or gender non-conforming individuals experience gender dysphoria. And that's completely not true, though, because what this says up here completely contradicts that. I don't understand why that would be there, but I digress. Changes from the DSM-4. In the DSM-4, gender identity disorder was used to describe gender dysphoria. The DSM-5 changes terminology to gender dysphoria to emphasize the focus on the distress and impairment caused by the gender incongruence rather than on the identity itself. Gender dysphoria is a recognized medical condition that can have significant psychological and social impacts. Individuals experiencing gender dysphoria may seek professional support and treatment such as gender-affirming therapy, hormone therapy, or surgery. Okay, so by definition, anyone who says they're trans, anyone who is trans has a mental illness. Now, we have screening in the military for things just like this. If you're schizophrenic, if you have PTSD, let's say, or any other mental illness that you have, let's say you're Down syndrome, okay, they're not going to let you in the military because you have a mental illness and you could become, become a liability to other people. So I don't understand why this is an issue exactly when by definition, this is a mental illness. Why are we even arguing about this whatsoever at all? If we really care about people's mental well-being and mental health, if you have a mental illness like this, how can you make a sound decision to go in to enter yourself into the military? That's what I want to know. So now I want to move on to this here from Washington Post. Judge blocks Trump's order banning transgender troops from military service. Let's scroll down here and see. A federal judge in Washington on Tuesday blocked the Trump administration from banning transgender people from serving in the military, ruling that the plan violated the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. Judge Anna C. Reyes issued the preliminary injunction barring the Defense Department from enacting a new policy that would have moved to remove transgender troops from the ranks. The policy issued last month followed a January executive order signed by President Donald Trump that referred to being transgender as a falsehood inconsistent with the humility and selflessness required of a service member. Reyes, who was appointed by former President Joe Biden, I'm not surprised, wrote that such pronouncements that transgender people are not honorable, truthful, or disciplined are pure conjecture. Never said that at all. He never said that at all. It's about them being mentally ill. The executive order and Defense Department policy provide nothing to support defendants' view that transgender military service is inconsistent with military readiness. So you're completely ignoring the fact that it's a mental illness that these people have. I don't understand why you would do that and how that's okay to allow people with mental illnesses to join our military in any capacity at all. I don't care if they're taking out the trash. They don't need to be around anything military related. It's honestly ridiculous. So now I want to go to this video from from MSNBC from 6 years ago. Supreme Court approves enforcement of transgender military ban. So let's watch this video here.
This correspondent Pete Williams is there. And Pete, it's a decision or at least an announcement from the Supreme Court on that transgender military ban.
Right. This is the one, remember, that President Trump announced by tweet last year, saying he wanted to ban transgender military service. The Pentagon eventually modified that to say you could stay in the military basically if you served in your own biological sex and did not seek gender reassignment surgery. 3 federal courts put that on hold, saying,
See, I disagree with that. You're mentally ill. You shouldn't be allowed to be in the military.
It was unconstitutional discrimination. The Trump administration came here to the Supreme Court and said,
How is this discrimination when you're mentally ill? Mentally ill is not a protected class.
we want you to let us enforce this ban while it plays out in the lower courts. And today, the Supreme Court granted that request. So if it chooses to do so, the Pentagon can now start enforcing the transgender military service ban. We'll have to see whether the Pentagon chooses to.
So what I want to know is, if the Supreme Court already decided that this was okay, how can this federal judge block this? I don't understand why it's even being brought, why she just didn't say, hey, the Supreme Court ruled on this. There's precedence that's been set. I'm not even going to, I'm just denying even hearing this case because of the precedence that's been set by the Supreme Court. Why are they ignoring a higher court? Why is she ignoring the higher court's ruling to do what she wants, basically? How is that constitutional?
Do that. Obviously, this case will not be heard until next year if the Supreme Court grants the case. So it's somewhat up in the air. It's the order here says that if the court grants review and decides that it's unconstitutional, the order would terminate. But it's not going to hear this case until next term, so the Pentagon could go ahead and start enforcing this ban. A couple of other quick notes. The Supreme Court today refused to hear the case.
Okay. So let me know your thoughts on this. I'm not transphobic. I could give 2 shits less what another fucking adult does. If you want to call yourself whatever the fuck you want to call yourself, have a good time with that. Enjoy your life. Live your life to the fullest. Do whatever the fuck you want. But don't ask me to buy into your mental illness, because that's not going to happen. I'm just not going to do that. That's ridiculous, and just, it's not going to happen. I don't give a fuck. You can call me a transphobe, you can try to I don't care. You're mentally ill and you need to seek mental help, because it's not normal to want to mutilate your body. I mean, if someone had schizophrenia and they wanted to cut off their arm, would we be encouraging that? Or would we be like, fuck, we need to get this person some mental help because they have some serious, deep issues that need attention? So I personally have no problem with the military ban. I think that anybody with a mental illness should be banned from the military, because being transgender is having gender dysphoria, and that's been classified as a mental illness. I mean, unless you want to completely ignore science, but I've been hearing all these last 5-6 years from the left to follow the science. So I'm following the science. So I don't know why that's an exact issue with them at all. They should be agreeing that mentally ill people shouldn't be allowed to go into the military. That's doing a disservice to that person, because how can they make a sound, conscious decision when they have a mental illness? Let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Give me a follow on X at MiddleGuy7, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Thank you. Take care.